3 claps, we're ready tonight. 3 claps. 3 claps. 3 claps. 27 years ago, I sat in this locker room just like you guys, on a knee, getting ready to play a game. I walked down the locker room, it still smells the same. It takes you back real quick. One of the things that caught me was how fast 27 years goes by. There's so many people that live vicariously through you. I would give anything tonight to jump in one of these uniforms with you guys.
To do something I never had an opportunity to do. My father never saw me play. You played for your fathers tonight.
That feeling goes away. It goes away, and it doesn't come every Friday night. It comes when you get married. It comes when your child's born. So you get it, but you just don't get it every Friday night. You're going to miss that more than anything in the world. That's what I miss. And so you seniors that are focused on college, you're focused on your work after high school, what you're going to do next, you're focused on tomorrow, aren't you? You got plenty of time for tomorrow. But these tonights, they're going by fast. You focus on tonight. This is about you guys. This is about the guys in this room that care about each other, that know.
That face that is usually covered by her phone.
Welcome back to Culver's. It's week 7. I know I say that every week that it just seems that it's flying by, but it is flying by, Bob.
5 games left?
5 games left in the regular season. 5 weeks left in the regular season for high school football in the state of Florida. Navarre just seems like they're just getting started. They've only played 4 games. Should have played 5 by now.
Right.
Last week was their off week. But before we get on to that, this is Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. He's Seminole Bob. I'm Irish Bill. We're here at Culver's in downtown Navarre. The rains have finally stopped for about 10 seconds.
Yes, the animals were walking by off the arc, I think.
They were up on 87. I saw them.
87?
Yeah, they were all lined up on 87 just down around from the high school football field, and they were ready to get on board, but the sky is cleared.
Yep.
We still got some more rain coming in supposedly throughout the night and into the morning.
Right.
But should clear up for turn out to be a beautiful Friday night of high school football here in the state of Florida, at least here in the Panhandle anyways. And we got Navarre and Mosley, a big matchup for both teams coming to this. Mosley comes in 6-0. They're putting up a lot of points, running the ball, throwing the ball. They do both equally well.
Right.
Navarre has struggled a little bit on the offensive side of the ball. This week, their offensive side needs to come together because they are going to have to put up some points on the board to hang with this Mosley team.
So coming off a win, would you rather have a bye to try to get folks healthy, or is it situational, or would you rather have the momentum? Because Coach did look into an opponent when Hurricane Ida stopped Easton from coming east.
Easton from coming east?
Easton from coming east, yeah. And there were a couple teams that said yes, but we want you at your place. And Coach didn't want to give up.
You don't want to give up the gate. You don't want to give up the home game.
Right.
I mean, I think he even offered to pay those teams to come.
Right.
And but no dice because Navarre did not want to give up a home game. For a rare occasion, they had 6 home games this year, only 4 road games, so they didn't want to have that expense, that extra burden of hitting the road,
Right.
and dressing 60 to 70 plus guys and sending them off in buses and all the expenses that come along with traveling.
Right, and some disruption to the school day. I remember years ago, Fort Walton Beach High School was in the same situation, and they ended up getting Apalachicola, which I don't even think has a team anymore.
Yes, Port St. Joe is in Apalachicola now.
Yeah. So and paid Apalachicola an ungodly amount of money, and Apalachicola gave us all we could want in the first half before the Viking depth just took over. I think Apalachicola only dressed like 14 players, 15 players that game. But sometimes teams will do that, much like in college, playing in a lower division team or a lesser team to help make their budget. And so that's a game I'll always remember.
Well, I remember some of the early games with Navarre. They had teams like Port St. Joe would come over here. Florida High when they were a young program, used to travel from Tallahassee over here to Navarre, and they would only dress like 20, 25 players.
Right.
Very competitive,
Right.
but didn't have the depth. And Navarre at that time was still building their depth as well. And but they had a lot of they've played numerous small teams. Some teams that are no longer in existence. I was looking over the records of every team that Navarre has played over the years, in the 20-plus years they've been a part of the program. We got our regulars like Gulf Breeze, Catholic, Pace, Milton, Crestview, Choctaw, Fort Walton, Niceville, Escambia. We throw in teams like the Tallahassee teams now, some Panama City teams, but there's some teams that are no longer in existence that Navarre played, like Carabel. Remember Carabel?
Yeah. How about Greensboro? I don't have my glasses.
Quincy Shanks is no longer.
Quincy Shanks. Havana.
Woodham, no longer.
Oh, yeah.
We got teams like that that are no longer in existence, but that's what brings the whole history together of where they've been to where they are now. And you're going to face those teams that are no longer. You're going to face those teams that the programs are not as good as they used to be.
Right.
You're going to have your down seasons as well. Fortunately for under Coach Jay Walls, he hasn't had too many down seasons, and his record speaks for itself.
Those teams are just the opposite of what's going on in Navarre with our growth. They had to combine schools for save money and dwindling enrollment and the like, folks moving in and out of their area type thing. And we may face a situation sometime in the future, 4 or 5 years down the line. The school board bought the property where the flea market, around where the flea market is near the zoo, and how will that in the future impact Navarre? Going from 2,000 students to, will they have a program right away? Will they start like Navarre? A lot of questions.
But it will also affect Gulf Breeze as well.
Correct.
Because being with Woodlawn right there, I believe would be their main middle school right there.
Would be their feeder school, yes.
And
the K-8 school, East Bay,
yeah.
Perhaps.
Because when we got here in '91, Navarre not even close to having a high school at that time. '96, they had their first class, their freshman class. '97, their first sophomore class. '98, and so on, and their first graduating class in 2000. And so at that time, Navarre people who lived in Navarre had a choice. You could either go play up at Milton, you could go to Fort Walton Beach, or you could go down the road to the west to Gulf Breeze.
Right.
So you had a choice which way you wanted to go, and but no longer, because that choice was taken away once Navarre started, and until the FHSA stepped in and said basically you could play wherever you want. But we won't go down that path. That's not a path I want to travel.
Not a rabbit hole I want to go down to.
No, but let's look into this series. We're tied 2 games apiece. They played each other at 4 times, with Navarre winning in 2007 and 2012, and Mosley winning in 2008 and 2011.
Right.
And so they're 2-2. It's been 9 years since these two programs have met. I remember the last game vividly. It was at Navarre High School, and Navarre won that game. That was part of the special 2012 year, Coach Jay Wall's first season, and that was a 28-13 win for the Raiders at home. But Mosley at that time kind of went with the old kind of the wing T veer misdirection offense.
Sure.
And it's because the year before, I remember vividly, it was a Thursday night game. It had rained during the day. It was kind of a wet, damp night over in Panama City. The Tommy Oliver Stadium, I believe, is still the name of it. They fixed it up really nice now, and Navarre was favored. I mean, they had the talent. And in 2011, Dusty Jones at quarterback, both the Leggett brothers.
Jeez, yeah, that was a special team.
I mean, and they had Marquise as well.
Backup quarterback.
Backup Dusty Jones ended up going on to play baseball at LBW up in Andalusia.
Right.
The Marquise Hagwood went up and played with his brother a year up at Cumberland. And but they had some great talent, and we all know the history of the Leggetts at that time, but they just couldn't get things together. And unfortunately, that was Coach Chad Lashley's last season at the helm at Navarre in 2011.
Right.
Jay Walls come in. We had no expectations. We didn't know a whole lot about Coach Walls, but I tell you, he's turned out to be one heck of a coach and one heck of a solid coach leading this program to where it is today.
You know, it sure has. And you took the words right out of my mouth. We really didn't know what Jay Walls could bring. He had been at Crestview. He had been in Alabama. I think he grew up in the Panama City area.
Graduated from Rutherford in 1981, same year I graduated high school.
And, and then, Mosley went through some growing pains. They built a new high school at the beach. The Marlins.
Arnold, they're struggling right now.
Yeah, so it kind of diluted. You had Rutherford Bay and Mosley, and then you had Arnold.
You had Arnold and Bozeman now, and North Bay.
Oh, yeah.
North Bay Haven is just outside the city limits.
Right. With two campuses, North County and South County.
And so the Panama City area has grown. And I think for the next area to grow, not that we can grow much further, more down here in the southern end of Santa Rosa County, but we'll probably have another high school here in the area in probably the next 5 to 7 years.
Yep. Certainly we'll have a high school with the property being purchased. Our good friend Joe Settle.
Yeah, he's checking in. He's our guest picker tonight.
He is. Not a nose picker, a guest picker.
He has already made his picks, and we'll have those be known here when we do our picks a little bit later in the show. And now we're going to head out to commercial break, and we just want to do a little pregame, get ready for Navarre versus Mosley this Friday night. A very stout opponent for the Raiders coming in. They're Cole Horton at quarterback leading a very strong offensive team out of Panama City, led by first-year head coach Tommy Joe Whidden. He's starting to build up a reputation. Wherever he goes, he's going to turn your program around.
Yeah, he may have already just in one season.
Well, it's definitely, and I was looking at their roster. You're going to see a majority of seniors and juniors on this team, not a whole lot of underclassmen. No, I see one freshman and a couple of a handful of sophomores, but mainly a junior-oriented team mixed in with a lot of seniors. And so it should be a great matchup. Navarre with 33 seniors of their own coming in, and Kyle Chambers really starting to pick up his game.
Sure is, and it's homecoming 2021 in Navarre. So we'll have the typical pregame festivities, and we'll bring you those as we usually do. If they do the floats, I don't know if they still do floats anymore, but they'll certainly have the homecoming court and the like. There won't be as Joe mentioned, there will not be a dance this year, but for homecoming. But they are going to have a November.
Joe says I'm dating myself, so yeah, I am dating myself, Joe, as far as my age.
Oh well, yeah.
No, I'm not dating myself. I mean, that would be kind of
weird.
Awkward.
That would be awkward.
Awkward
They're going to have a November like an autumn dance or fall dance. So, which is good for the kids.
Well, we're going to go ahead and take our first break, and we'll head on back for another segment after this. You're watching Irish Bill's Twist on Sports on irishbillsports.com and YouTube channel Irish Bill Sports Live. And we appreciate you out there on a Wednesday night. Hopefully you're dry wherever you're at. And we'll be back for segment 2 coming up here momentarily. Seminole Bob, Irish Bill. We'll be right back.
Craig Culver of Culver's.
Before farm to table, before field to fork, there was just good, wholesome food. Grown by America's farm families, prepared fresh at Culver's, and always served with a smile. We still cook every Butterburger to order using fresh 100% Midwest beef and craft our frozen custard right in the restaurant using family farm fresh dairy. So thank you, farmers. Welcome to Delicious.
Thinking about selling your property? Call Ursula Householder of Coldwell Banker Realty in Navarre now. The consultation is free, and Ursula uses the best tools the industry has to offer. Her years as a top producer, relocation specialist, and Florida military market specialist will help you get the desired result. If you are buying, Ursula's experience will help you make an informed decision to find the right home for you. And if you mention this advertisement, Ursula will donate $100 to the Navarre Raider Quarterback Club when the deal closes. To find out if you qualify for any of the military rewards, call or text 850-642-5711 or email ursula.householder@cbrealty.com or go to urhouseholderhomes.com. That's urhouseholderhomes.com. Go Raiders!
University Lending Group, located in Harvest Village, is Navarre's local mortgage lender. If buying, selling, or building a dream home is in your future, you need to contact University Lending Group. Jennifer Gomes and Stacy Wright are the loan specialists who have the experience to take you step by step to make your buying, building, or selling experience smooth. See University at 752 Navarre Parkway, Suite 56, or call 850-396-0322.
If you want to move better, feel better, and live better pain-free, Dr. Paul Britt at Integrative Chiropractic Solutions is the only certified sports chiropractor for Gulf Breeze and Navarre. He can address your sports injuries quickly and effectively, and after only 4 visits on average with a 96% resolution rate. So give Integrative Chiropractic Solutions a call today at 850-916-9304 or book online at drpaulbritt.com. That's 850-916-9304 or online at drpaulbritt.com. They want to fix you swiftly to get you back in the game.
A strong work ethic takes pride in a job well done. This is the kind of person you need. Express Employment Professionals can help because we understand what it takes to hire the right person. It takes real people. Real interviews. We find good people, matching the right skills with the right jobs from the production floor to the front office. Express knows jobs. Get to know Express. Go to expresspros.com to find a location near you.
Great teams have great support. The Navarre Raiders have one of the best support organizations, the Navarre Raiders Quarterback Club. All the members see to it that the Raiders have all available necessities to keep the Raiders on track. Whether it's seeing to it that they're properly fed, have good transportation, or making sure that all Raider fans can watch and hear all exciting Navarre Raider football action, the Navarre Raider Quarterback Club is there to make it happen. Thanks Navarre Raider Quarterback Club for your support of your winning Navarre Raiders on irishbillsports.com.
Welcome back to Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. Seminole Bob looking rather bright tonight.
Woo! Jealous.
And Irish Bill here. We're off to segment 2. We did our pregame of the the Mosley-Navarre game coming up, and should be a great matchup this Friday night, homecoming at Navarre. And, it's a special night other than homecoming. And I've asked this a lot of questions. A lot of people don't know the answer to this question. What other special thing is it on Friday night?
What is what? Oh,
What's another thing that's
Navarre.
This game is special in what?
200, 100 game.
It's 250th game in Navarre Raider history. Okay. And this will be the first time that I went in 50 game increments. Mosley was game 150. So now they're at game 250. So that's coming into this game. Mosley will be the first team out of this historical data where we will play them again as a part of that data.
And you've probably been to all 250 games.
I don't know. Early on in that, I was still in the military, so there was a lot of times where I was gone that I couldn't attend games. Right. But I can remember the days when there was just metal stands on the sidelines at Navarre, and then they built the stadium, and I remember a lot of the guys early on. Some of the players' names that come back to memory, like Billy Mitchell, who went on and played 4 years at Marshall.
Yep.
We had a lot of guys. Zach Cook in the early 2000s. You had a young man that lived in my neighborhood. He walked on at Alabama, Patrick Birch.
Yes.
Remember the Birch? His dad was Steve.
The Birches.
And I believe they had an installation business.
Yes.
And
yes.
And
good friends of the
he
family.
caught a touchdown pass as a walk-on his freshman year at Alabama.
That's crazy.
And
I really do remember that. Gosh.
And there's a lot of players along. I mean, quarterbacks like Austin Grimm, one of the best quarterbacks in our history. Guys like wide receivers set a lot of Navarre records early on. Chris Weaver, he's only about 5'6", but if you threw the ball in his direction, he was going to catch it. And he was one of the best route runners I've seen in high school football at Navarre. Being 5'6", you got to be quick. You got to be tough.
Better be tough.
And you got to be smart. And he was all of those. And but a lot of history going back, and I mean, then you got the Hills, Walter, and Michael.
Sure did, yeah, Michael.
And the Leggett's, the Carters.
Some kicker named Hamill.
Yeah.
Curly-haired kid.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do with that hair, but I wish I had some of it. But it's not my choice.
When you get to our age, it really is a haircut rather than a hair's cut.
Yeah,
right?
It sure is.
You and young Brady are heading up to Birmingham. Miles College game.
Their homecoming is this Saturday, so that will be Brady's first visit back.
Cool.
To his alma mater for the homecoming. So we'll get to see a lot of familiar faces this weekend. But I'm just going back on the names. I mean, some of the names we had. I mean, the Hamilton kid that played at Navarre.
Yep.
Adam Hamilton, multi-talented athlete. The Wrights now.
Adam kicked too, didn't he?
Adam did a little bit of everything. Mm-hmm. Played offensive side of the ball, kind of like Derek Percival today.
Right.
Not afraid to go back and return punts and kicks as well. Just some of the players and the names that have passed through the halls at Navarre High School build up to what this program is, and it's our 250th game in Navarre history this Friday night against Mosley.
Crazy. Seems like yesterday, but it's been a while.
It has been. I mean, 96 was the first year, and they built the school in stages. Each year they added one, and then in 98 they had their first varsity team, although they still did not have seniors as of yet. Correct. So the juniors were the higher classmen.
Right.
And then their first official year as a full program was in 99, 2000. And with Coach, I always get these. Luckily, I got my stat sheet right here to look him up. Kenny Hughes got us started.
Hughes, yeah.
He just coached the 1 year in 1998. There was a young coach there on that team that has now gone on and just retired recently. One Coach Greg Taylor. He was with the Raider program from its inception. So he's now enjoying retirement now and watching his kids grow up. But
The GOAT checks in.
Yep, he was asking me what the line was. Joe, great one there. Quarterback Matt Webb. Hey, guys, he could sling the ball.
Oh boy!
And played a year at Huntingdon.
Yep.
The GOAT checking in says, listening. Crestview will travel up to Andalusia on Friday. Tough opponent there in Andalusia. He, however, will be going to the Miami Edison versus Niceville game. Edison has 4-star defensive end Francis Knowlton, who is committed to Florida. They have quite a few other Division I players, and thanks, GOAT, for checking in tonight. Hopefully you become a regular on Wednesday nights. I know you got a busy schedule and all that you do, but it's nice to have our fellow area sports guys chime in on our YouTube Live.
Saturday, the Gentleman's Saturday Show.
Southern Gentleman's Sports Show. I will unfortunately not be on the show this week because I'll be traveling to Birmingham. So they'll have to pick up and fill some big shoes on Saturday morning at size 11s. But so Pac-12 Dave and Tiger Mike will probably be back in there, and of course the Georgia Dog, who's the boss man, as we like to call him.
Yep.
And he has kind of gotten us going. He started the show a couple of years ago, now about 2.5 years old now, and it's really grown and it's turning into big things. But
no kidding. Well, it's good to know, Goat, you're checking in. Andalusia. I don't think Pac-12 Dave goes to Andalusia, does he?
No, I don't know what it was between Pac-12 Dave and Andalusia. He'll have to tell me that story sometime. I think it was up there watching one of his grandchildren or one of his at a baseball game, and didn't have the greatest of experience when he was up in Andalusia. And I don't think he's either not welcome back, or two, he just doesn't want to go back.
Yeah.
So, but
don't know.
All of this talent, we're talking about history, and now we're going to start some new history. And every Wednesday we talk about Irish Bill's Super 7 Panhandle Power Rankings, our large schools, our small schools, and the great efforts by our players from here in the Panhandle all the way over to the Big Bend. And we love to talk about their efforts and share them with you. We won't go over all the names, as you can go on my Facebook page at Irish Bill's Twist on Sports, or you can go out to my website, irishbillsports.com. In my blog section, you can see all the names of all the talented players. And I added something new this week, Bob. Special teams player of the week. We've been talking about offensive and defensive players, so I said, darn it, we're going to add the special teams players in there as well. So, but here's our Super 7 for the large schools. Niceville, Mosley, West Florida, Gulf Breeze, Navarre. What are your Gulf Breezes quietly having 5-0 on the season? Pine Forest at 6. Choctaw, after the loss to Niceville, drops to number 7. The small schools, Baker had a close one last week, but never really in doubt as they beat Lighthouse PC in a close 9-0 game. South Walton moves up into the number 2 spot after Blountstown lost a close one on the road to Holmes County. So Port St. Joe remains undefeated at number 3. Holmes County moves into the 4 spot. Coach Bo Johnson's Blountstown Tigers fall to number 5. Liberty County holding steady at number 6. Catholic drops to number 7, even though they did win last week, their second win of the season.
Over Mobile Christian.
And a close 10-8 game there, 10-8. But our players of this week, no, it's not Baker's Caleb Wagner, even though he did have a good week. He was actually held out of the end zone last week for the first time all season.
150 yards.
Yeah, ended up on 134 yards. On the night, on about 24 carries, but no touchdowns. And but he still has over 1,350 yards through the first 4 games of the season, which ranks right up there in the state of Florida as amongst the best in the state of Florida. But our offensive player, we mentioned this guy's name last year. We're going to mention him again. Weewa Hitchcock, Zay McDaniel, only a sophomore. He carried the ball 27 times for 299 yards and 3 touchdowns, as they upset Freeport last week, 36-28. Our defensive player, we're going to reach all the way over into Tallahassee for this one. It was hard to surpass what Christian's sophomore, J.P. Pickles, linebacker J.P. Pickles. You like that name?
I do.
21 tackles last week.
Lord.
11 solo, 10 assists, 5 tackles for loss. He also plays quarterback. And he's had 2 quarterback hurries, and they're 20-16 to win over McClay. And our first ever Irish Bill's Twist on Sports Special Teams Player of the Year, he hails from Pace, Reese Griffith had a perfect night as he made all 4 of his extra points and was 3 for 3 on his field goals with a long of 38 and a 37-0 win over Tate. And
Yep.
also special about this young man, he is also one of my son's part of their program, One-on-One Kicking Pensacola.
Yeah, oh, there you go.
So he's a left-footed kicker, and Brady says he has a great, great future. He's got a strong leg. So congratulations goes out to Zay, JP, and Reese as our 3 players of the week. And we got a lot of efforts. And like I said, we'll just go over the top one that's left over that I haven't mentioned already. Milton Zemery Williams had 26 of 38 for 300 yards and a score, unfortunately, in a tight loss to Washington last week. Akeem Stokes from Escambia had 6 receptions for 153 yards and a score. Our running back, that Northview's Jamarcus Jefferson, had 9 carries for 185 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Wow.
Our other defensive players, Tate Jackson Stafford with 17 tackles, and Escambia's Jordan Virgin with 15 tackles as well. Now the kickers, West Florida's Jackson Clark went 4 for 4 and 1 for 1 field goals, and Niceville's Logan Maurice 6 for 6 on extra points. And those are our stars of the week, as well as our Panhandle Power Rankings. Niceville, Mosley, West Florida, Gulf Breeze, Navarre, Pine Forest, and Choctaw make up the large schools. Baker, South Walton, Port St. Joe, Holmes County, Blountstown, Liberty County, and Catholic make up the small schools.
Yeah, you're pretty much spot on. The Pensacola News Journal does their Escambia County and Santa Rosa County leaderboard, and their 1 and 2 is West Florida and Gulf Breeze. So you're spot on.
I like what West Florida, and they're actually, I think they are coming up. They're getting ready to play each other pretty soon because they are in the same
district.
No, actually, West Florida State in 5A and Gulf Breeze is in 6A.
Okay.
But I believe they are coming up this week. That's going to be a tough game to call this week. And they're playing at Gulf Breeze in the Splice Zone.
Yes.
But another guy I want to thank, a lot of people, you know him as the owner and publisher of FloridaHighSchoolFootball.com. That would be one Joshua Wilson. You see the helmets on that I post on my page. Those are all courtesy of Joshua. He offered about 3 or 4 weeks ago, say, hey, Bill, I like what you're doing, but we can get better. And so he has put all these new helmets together, and he sends me them. Once I tell him who my players are, he sends me the helmets for that week.
Oh, cool.
So
thank you.
So I put up the helmets on my my little thing that I insert that I post with my players and their feeds every week. But now it's time not to say goodbye to all our family. M-I-C-K-E. No, we're not going to do that.
M-I-C.
But I am going to pull out one thing. The trusty pen.
The pen.
Because the pen is mightier than the sword.
And I brought the backup pen.
The backup pen, just in case.
Yes.
Not Justin Fields, just in case.
Justin.
Now the starting quarterback for the rest of the season.
Nagy gave him the nod.
And we'll see how that goes.
Boy, I just thought he'd do better. But anyway, that's pro football.
We're going to start out with a Thursday night game. Taylor County traveling over to Lighthouse, opening up their new stadium. Last week was their first home game at their new stadium.
Really?
And when Baker came calling last week, and quite a good effort defensively for Lighthouse. They had the game plan, but just not enough offense against a very stingy Baker defense last week. Taylor County's going to travel a long ways over from Perry all the way to Gulf Breeze area. And I think with that, that's going to wear them out. And I think Lighthouse PCA will get their first home victory at their new field.
I'm going to go with Taylor County.
Bob going with Taylor County. And our guest picker is siding with the host here, Irish Bill. Joe is going with Lighthouse PCA as well. Let's move over to Friday night. Joe, you're already on my bad side. I've just given you praise. Joe says, former 2 Live Crew member Luther Campbell, a.k.a. Uncle Luke, is the head coach of Edison. We get all the facts around here. Did you know that?
I think I did. And we'll talk about Edison in just a second.
Yeah. But we're going to start out with Mosley and Navarre. Joe takes Mosley. And it's tough to not to go with Mosley. I mean, look at your numbers. They're averaging 43 points a game, only giving up 7. Navarre is averaging, let me see here, they're right at 100 points, so 4 games, that's pretty easy, to 25 points a game.
Yep.
They're giving up 52, so 13 points a game. So both teams on the defensive side of the ball, pretty stingy. Mosley scores a little bit more on the offensive side of the ball, but it's homecoming. It's a special night game, 250 in Raider history. I'm going with the Raiders.
I'm going to go with the Raiders, too. I think the game plan is to keep Mosley off the field. Duh. Well, every football team does that. I really think that's what Jay Holmes plans to do. Jay Holmes. Punter for Fort Walton, kicker for Fort Walton.
Yeah, I remember
Jay
that.
Walls, yeah. Boy, he talk about a leg.
Yeah.
Jay Walls' plan is to try to establish the run.
You're reaching into your memory banks for that one.
His dad taught me how to drive. Coach Holmes. Good guy.
And you're still here.
Yeah. So, I think it's ball control. Keep Mosley off the field. I think it's going to come down to a field goal, and a field goal game. I'm going to go with the home team in this one.
And Mosley hasn't kicked a field goal yet this year, so they've all touchdowns so far.
Right.
So 6 games, they've had 6 times 6, 7, so 37 touchdowns they put up on the board already, and have only given up, I believe 41 points in 6 games.
So who's the pressure on?
I think it's on Mosley.
I agree. I totally agree. I think, and what a big victory it would be and game number 250 in Navarre history. So I'm going to go with the Raiders at home for a happy homecoming.
Next, speaking of Fort Walton Beach, as you brought up earlier, there will be hosting Escambia, and Fort Walton Beach really struggling on the offensive side of the ball this year.
Yeah, Escambia is down too. I'm going to go with the Gators.
I know that's tough for you to root for anybody Gators.
Not as tough as it is rooting anybody named Red Sox.
Oh, I know you're a Yankees fan, right?
Oh, man.
I'm sorry. But my White Sox, you can cheer them on.
Okay.
They play Houston, the Cheaters.
Oh, well.
Okay, next we got a big game. Defeat Class 3A, Miami Edison.
Yeah.
We already know the history of their coach.
Yeah.
They're heading to Niceville, the number 2 team in one poll, the number 4 in another in Class 7A. You're going to see a lot of D1 talent on both sides of the ball for both teams, and I think this is going to be one of the best games of the season here in the Panhandle. Miami traveling, guys, that's a good 10-hour drive, 10 to 11-hour drive.
Yeah. Well, knowing their coach, they might fly them up. Who knows?
That's true. But that'll be a great game. I can't go against Niceville at home.
I agree. And a lot of these players know each other from camps, from the specialty camps they all go to, and all-star camps and summer camps and different college camps, if you will. So I think Niceville will be tested, but I think the Eagles did just one of the top teams in the state. I don't know if they're ranked by USA Today.
Joe took Escambia as well, and we're all 3 taking Niceville in this one.
Okay. Yep.
Now we're going to move down to another really solid game Friday night. West Florida travels over to Gulf Breeze. We saw West Florida in the Kickoff Classic. Very impressed with West Florida.
Yep.
Gulf Breeze, led by a sophomore quarterback. His name is Battle Alberson. Only a sophomore, and his best 2 wide receivers are sophomores as well.
Almost as good as J.P. Pickles.
I know. We got some great names here. I think West Florida has just a little bit too much for Gulf Breeze in this one. I'm going with the Jags, as is Joe.
Gulf Breeze is a tough place to play. We have found that out. I'm going to go with the Jags. Just too much speed.
Next, we're going to head over to Pine Forest as they host Baker, not Baker Gators, but Baker from Mobile. And
That's right.
I don't know a whole lot about Baker, but I know I saw Pine Forest play last week on Thursday night against Escambia. They looked pretty darn solid.
Yeah, and being they hit Escambia at the right time, and so I'm going to go with the Eagles.
So all three of us going with Pine Forest. Washington heading over to Tate this week, and unfortunately, there will be a coach that will not be on the sideline this week for Tate, as Jay Lindsay has stepped down as the head coach of the Tate Aggies. Not sure if you all knew that. Saw it late yesterday afternoon. The news came out. Jay Lindsay, the son of Coach Lindsay, that was at Pace for quite a while.
Yeah,
Mickey Lindsay.
Mickey Lindsay. I think both of us have inside sources. I haven't heard anything. It was not on Pensacola News Journal site, but Tate's had a rough year. I mean, they got shut out by Pace, a team that didn't he coach with his dad for a little while there?
I think he was an assistant underneath his dad.
And just get whitewashed like that. We don't know the circumstances. Don't know if he's still teaching there, but that's got to be a tough game. I'm going to go with Washington on the road.
So going in this game, you got a coach to be determined for Tate against the first-year coach in Ryan Anka,
right.
Alum of Washington. I'm going with Washington as well. So it's a clean sweep for all three of us as we all take Washington. Pensacola gets into the win column last week, but now they got to go to Milton.
Yeah.
Seems like Milton has been at home every week this year.
Yeah. I don't know how that happened. Big win for Pensacola. They beat Arnold, I believe, on the road.
Might be their only win this season.
Might be their only win. I'm going with Milton.
And Pensacola, if you don't know, we've told you all before that is the alma mater of one Kirsten Grant.
Yep. Kirsten is, and her mother is a Pensacola High grad, and her brother went to Pensacola High, and her other brother went to so there's a lot of history there. But not any recent history. Pensacola's been struggling for a while, Bill.
They have, and they've gone through quite a few coaches over the years. Now we're going to Monroe travel in this way to the Panhandle. Normally doesn't travel this way. They're coming over to face off with Pace. Monroe having a good season so far. If I'm trying to look back here, they are 5-1 on the season, facing off a Pace team that has struggled at times this year. Pace 2-3 on the season, and I'm going to come in and this is my upset. I'm going to go with Monroe on the road at Pace.
I'm going with Monroe. I think it's Robert F. Monroe. That's the full name of the school.
Yep.
I don't know their nickname, but their mascot. But I'm going to go with Monroe against Pace. Pace has been up and down, and we'll play them.
Now we have Rickards and Battle Tallahassee teams. Rickards traveling to face off at Godby. Godby with a lot of talent, but they just cannot put it together on the field. I watched the game last week against, I believe they played West Florida on Friday night. And since we didn't have a game, so what does a broadcaster do when he doesn't have a game? He watches another game.
That's right.
So I watched the West Florida and Godby game. And I think Rickards did a number on Fort Walton Beach last week on their new blue field. I mean, it was very bright. And I think they're going to do a number on Godby this week.
I'm going to go with Godby.
So Bob's going with Godby, and Joe's going to side with me. He is going with Rickards as well. Leon, we saw them earlier a couple weeks ago. Lincoln has been up and down. They had a tight game last week against Gadsden County.
Sure did.
14-10. Got a great quarterback there, Perry Fisher. He'll be playing D1 football somewhere in the near future. I think Lincoln just has too much for Leon.
Going with the Trojans.
Next, we head over to Mariana. It's been a long year for Bay. And Mariana has been suspect at times, but they have had a better year than Bay. I'm going with Mariana.
Mariana hung with South Walton last week.
Yeah, they
I'm
did.
going to go with Mariana.
So all three go with Mariana. Jefferson County travels down to Crawfordville to take on Wakulla. I'm going to go with the War Eagles at home. They don't lose too many games at home, even though they did lose to Florida High last week.
Yeah, but everybody loses to Florida High. I'm going to go with Wakulla as well.
So it's a clean sweep there for Wakulla. South Walton at Port St. Joe. This is going to be a really good game. Set the high-octane offense of Coach Phil Tiza, traveling down 98, down to Apalachicola to take on Port St. Joe's, undefeated on the season so far. They were off last week. And this offense is really starting to roll for the Seahawks. I think Port St. Joe can hang with them, but I think they just put up an extra touchdown in the end, and the Seahawks pull this one out.
I'm going to go with the Seahawks.
So a clean sweep there as Joe takes South Walton as well. Gaston County traveling over to Catholic. Catholic has been struggling really on the offensive side of the ball. Gaston County had a tough game last week against Lincoln. I think Catholic will end up pulling this one out in a close one at home.
I'm going to go with Gadsden County.
Bob going with the visitors in that one. Long travel from Gadsden County over to Pensacola. Next, we got another really good game. Class 1A, Bluntstown heading over to North Florida Christian. Both teams have only one loss piece, and it should be a great game coming up. I hardly ever root for against Coach Bo Johnson, but I think I'm going to side with North Florida Christian in this one.
I am too.
Joe, he went with Coach Bo and the Bluntstown Tigers. Walton quietly having a good season. The only loss was to South Walton.
Yep.
And they're traveling over to Bozeman to take on the Buccaneers. And I'm going with Walton on the road.
I'm going to take Bozeman.
So, I'd have something different. We've been going down the same path too much tonight, so I had to take a different path here.
That's not a bad choice.
And after we're going to get to the college picks, even though we really don't want to talk about my college picks last week, because there's not too many times when we're picking straight up that I have a losing record. And it happened last week in college, but we'll get there when it comes to it. Arnold at Rutherford, Battle of Panama City teams. Both teams really struggling this year. I'm going to go with Arnold in this one. Because what's happening over in Panama City is what's happening around the Panhandle, the state of Florida. The good talent go side. They know which team's going to be good, so they transfer to that school. And there's nothing against it these days. That is part of the legislature.
I think Florida High School just had too many problems looking into investigating this and investigating that.
Didn't have the manpower to.
Yeah.
And wasted a lot of taxpayers' money.
True. Well, a lot of schools' money.
Schools' money.
Well, I think they do get some funding from this legislature. I'm going to go with Arnold.
Joe goes with Rutherford in that one. Rocky Bayou back on the road after their week off. They're going over to face a very tough Osceola Christian with only one loss in the season. And I think I'm going to go with Osceola Christian in this one.
I am too.
So a clean sweep for Osceola Christian. Freeport on the road at North Bay Haven. After a great start by Freeport, the last couple of weeks it's not been very solid. They've dropped to 3-3 on the season. North Bay Haven with a win last week. And a tight one over Bay.
I'm going to go with Freeport.
I'm going to go with Freeport as well.
I got a hunch.
Joe takes Freeport. Jay off to an 0-6 start at Baker. Turn out the lights. This party is over at the end of one.
Before it even started. The Battle of Highway 4.
The war on I-4.
The war on I-4. We may have our old friend as player of the week, unless,
like they did in the week one where they only had 4 carries.
I mean, teams that play Baker are going to watch that Lighthouse game and say, Baker's going to run that play until you stop him.
Yes.
And you load the box.
Did not pass the ball once last week.
Yeah, he probably hasn't thrown the ball more than 10 times the whole season.
6.
Okay.
He's 4 for 6. 4 for 6 or 6 for 8, something like that.
I'm going to go with the
Baker
boys.
We're going to clean sweep for the Baker Gators there. Graceville at St. John Paul. Long season so far for Graceville. You know where Graceville is?
Near Panama City, I believe.
Actually, if you go like you're going to Dothan, the back roads to Dothan.
Yep.
You go through Chipley.
Yep.
And then Graceville is not too far from there.
Okay.
Liberty County is over by Bluntstown, so it's off of 20.
Yeah.
We're over in Bristol.
The Gators had a running back from Graceville years ago. I can't think of it. And
They have a young
played
man
for the
that
Bears.
played there before he transferred to IMG Academy. The guy that's at Georgia now is Xavier Sori.
Yeah.
His younger brother is still there, and it looks like he's going to be heading to Georgia as well. But they're not too far from the Alabama border, and Georgia's not too far from there either. So I'm going to go St. John Paul big in this one.
Yep.
Same with Joe. Pautala Charter, Georgia, heading to Sneeds. Sneeds is another team that's been up and down.
Right.
And I don't know much. In fact, go ahead and talk for a second, Joe, and I'll bring it.
I was trying to think of the running back's name from Graceville, who went on to play for Florida, who ended up playing for the Bears. This is probably mid-'80s, early 80s, and the name escapes me, but I'm sure one of our listeners will chime in. Neil
Anderson.
Neil Anderson.
All you had to do was say Neil, and I knew where you were leaning.
He's a heck of a runner, boy.
Yeah, he was a heck of a back.
That was, and the reason why I got to know him when I was a young lad working in Tallahassee, going to school there. I worked at a wonderful family. They owned Buddy Sporting Goods, and right on Tennessee Street, no longer there. Buddy's was a big powerhouse in softball. He sponsored softball teams, travel the country, and we had that was back in the day of the tearaway jerseys.
I remember those.
Graceville would buy their tearaway jerseys, so we made every week with a heat press. Just throw a heat press letter on it. Those days, about 10 a week. He would go through, and all right, got to make 10 more for Neil Anderson at Graceville, and we'd ship it off. And so, yeah, that's how.
Great story.
Yep.
I am going to go with Sneeds in this one.
I'm going to go with Sneeds.
That's a clean sweep for Sneeds. Then we're going to finish it off Weewa at Maclay. Weewa gets their first win last week, and heading to Maclay. And Maclay, trying to remember their record as they come into the third.
They've been up and down.
Maclay is a 3A team. They're 1-3 on the season. Weewa with one victory as well. So I'm going to go with Maclay edging out Weewa in a close grinder
I'm
here.
going to go with the Gators.
God, that's two Gators. You're going to make it 3 when we go to college picks?
Well, they play Vanderbilt, so.
Yeah.
Good chance with that.
So it's a Gator sweep here this week.
Is.
Escambia, Weewa, Baker, Florida. So there's our picks. Last week, I went 15-4, respectively, 15-4. Bob went 13-6. The season, I'm 105-31. Bob 103-33. So we're staying pretty close within 2 games of each other. There's our high school picks. Now it's time to go over and talk about. There's the good, which is the high school picks, the bad, and last week was the ugly for me in college picks. I went 10-13 last week. Bob, you went 12-11. You were just a nod over 500. You gained 2 games on me, so you cut it within 1 now. After 5 weeks so far, I'm 91-37. You're 90-38, just 1 game back. But our guys, there's holes in my picks everywhere here, so I don't even know where to start. In fact, I've seen enough of last week that I don't want to really talk about it anymore. How about we go straight to our picks?
Okay.
And Joe says Godby is a very young and undisciplined team. You are right. A lot of penalties last week in that game when I watched on TV last Friday night. And well, let's start a new week. Notre Dame loses. Wisconsin loses.
Florida State wins.
Miles lost at home last week.
Oh, wow.
And so it was not a good Saturday in the Hamill household for college football. Florida loses as well, as Brooke's a big Florida fan.
Is she?
Yeah.
But
so,
she's getting better, so that is great news for the Hamill.
Most definitely. And before we get to our college picks, one of the Raider moms over the season has not been able to make it out to the stadium. Unfortunately, she got some not very good news this week.
Praise be.
She's going to be battling. I don't know if he wants me to tell, but she's going to be battling something that's bigger than her right now. But so she will not be able to make it into the stadium. And I want to give a shout out to Daphne Moon, who's got a struggle, and her family, John and Jaden, a senior on the Navarre Raider football team. She's got a battle in front of her, and I want to send my prayers out to Daphne and saying all the Raider Nation's with you in your fight, and we'll be praying for you in the days ahead.
I thought you said it was good news. I didn't mean praise be.
No, it was not. It wasn't good news.
But I believe it's going to turn out okay.
Me too, and we'll continue to say we'll give her shout outs at every game, and wherever we're at, we'll continue to give Daphne and our best wishes and a shout out every Friday night. And Godspeed for you, Daphne. But let's get to our college picks as we're into week 6 already, the halfway point of the college football season.
Yeah.
And we're going to start with a Thursday night game. And this team is quietly, even though their schedule is not as strong as all the other teams, Coastal Carolina looking at another strong year this year, and they travel to Arkansas State this week, and I think it's another big win for the Chanticleers.
Top 15 team, I believe, aren't they? 15th?
Yep.
I'm going to go with the Chanticleers.
So that's a clean sweep for Coastal Carolina out of Myrtle Beach.
Yep.
A former Navarre player used to play there. Trying to remember his name, and it will come to me here in a second. Christian Gill.
Okay.
He played a couple of years at Coastal Carolina, and before he called it quits. But so let's go to that was the only game we were going to pick Thursday night. So all of us go with Coastal Carolina. We're going to move over to Friday night, and Temple hitting the road and heading to the Queen City of Cincinnati. And I'm going with the Bearcats, and there's not really too many flaws in their schedule. They got a good chance of going unbeaten this year in the regular season.
Yeah, I think Cincinnati needs to pay attention to the University of Florida. Definitely a trap game, very emotional win, big win over Notre Dame. Their quarterback
had a suspect game.
Yeah, he did. He gets on social media a lot, and they're 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds. I get that, but I want my quarterback. I want him smooth, like the top of Bill Hamill's head. Smooth. You know what I'm saying? Going out there and saying they're going to do this to Notre Dame, do that to Notre Dame. I mean, if you've got the chutzpah to do it, I don't know if you all can understand. But
one of the comments I heard him saying is, one of the coaches, one of his former coaches or one of his current coaches that used to coach at Notre Dame this past weekend, so you know how loud it gets at Notre Dame? He goes, yeah, but it's only going to be loud for a short time. It's like he backed it up.
Yeah, he did.
His numbers weren't that impressive, but he went and got the W in a very hostile environment. And
Temple is
hats off to
3-2,
Ritter.
So I think it'll be a very close game.
Indeed.
Cincinnati to win.
Yep, and Stanford knocks off Oregon last week. They scored a game-tying touchdown on an untimed down because of some personal foul penalty against Oregon. They went on to beat Oregon in overtime. Now they're going to Arizona State. And Arizona State starting to play some good ball under Herm Edwards.
Yeah, boy, this is a tough game.
I'm going to go with Arizona State at home.
I'm going to go with Arizona State. I think it's just so natural to have a letdown after a big win, emotional win over Oregon.
Okay, so there's the 2 Friday night games. So right now we're all siding with the same teams. And now we're going to head to Saturday as Notre Dame will travel to Blacksburg.
Yes.
And one of my favorite pregame things that they do, traditions, to enter the Sandman. That is so cool. And that right up there with the Iowa thing that they've started with turning around and waving to the children in the hospital.
Right.
And but I still love the Wisconsin fourth quarter jump around. That still is one of the best. Both teams and both fans and everybody's jumping and jump around, and it's just I think that's one of the coolest. But I'm going to go with Notre Dame in this one to come back from a suspect game last week. And
they better have their they better have it all together. They're only favored by 1.5, which I'm really surprised. I'm going to go with Catholics, but I think it's going to be a struggle.
Yeah, Virginia Tech led by, what's his name? Bronco Mendenhall is the head coach at.
He used to be at Boise.
Yeah, he's now the head coach at Virginia Tech. So we're all going with Notre Dame, Vanderbilt at Florida, and we don't need to talk about that game for very long. We're all going with Florida in that one. Maryland traveling to Ohio State after laying an egg last week against Iowa. And Ohio State, I think, is going to start to find their ground here, and I think they'll win by a couple scores in this one against Maryland. So there won't be no fear in the turtle this week.
Yeah. Quarterback by Tria Tagovailoa.
Well, last week you could have said Sixa, as in Sixa interceptions. Or the last name was, I thought, was really, really clever. It was Talia turned the ball over. But I think I'm going to go with Ohio State there as well, Bob.
I'm going to go with Buckeye Mike's.
Buckeye Mike.
Yeah.
Michigan State heading on the road to Rutgers. Both teams having a rather good season so far. Mel Tucker turning the Michigan State program around this year.
Undefeated, too.
And I'm going with the Sparty on the road.
Sparty on the road, I think it's going to be closer than the spread.
So we're all picking alike so far. South Carolina heading to Tennessee. We saw what Tennessee does to weaker opponents.
That surprised the heck out of me. I'll go with the Vols. Again, I think it's going to be a close one.
62 points last week in their win on the road at Missouri. West Virginia traveling to Baylor. Baylor with, I believe, their first loss last week. West Virginia has not been really impressive, but they do have one of our radar on that team, one Jordan Jefferson.
Right.
And but I'm going to go with the Baylor Bears at home.
I'll go with Baylor. BU.
Arkansas at Ole Miss. Both teams coming off very disappointing efforts.
Yes.
Ole Miss against Alabama. Well, a lot of people have disappointing efforts against Alabama.
I picked Arkansas to win that game, I believe, didn't I?
You did. But it was 37 to nothing.
Yeah, it went close.
Arkansas got beat by Georgia. Ole Miss.
I don't know. I mean, I think we'll find out the true mettle of the teams during the game, how they respond to adversity. I know I'm rolling out the trite expressions, but it really is true. Arkansas getting shut out. Ole Miss, people thought that they would give Alabama more of a game.
And we thought it. The way they started, they moved right down the field, converted their first 3 fourth-down conversions. Unfortunately, did not convert on number 4, and it was Johnny turn out the lights because that game was over after that.
Yeah, and Coach Saban is undefeated against his former assistant coaches.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the home team.
Me as well. So we're all going down the beaten path here so far. Now we're going to, you know what? They don't want to call it what they used to call it. I'm still calling it the Red River Shootout. It's the Red River rivalry they call it now, but to me it's still the Red River Shootout. Oklahoma and Texas. Will the real Oklahoma team stand up?
Yeah.
Will the real Texas team stand up this week? This game could go either way. It's been cited on the Oklahoma side for the last few years. I would not be surprised if Texas wins this, but I'm going with Oklahoma.
I'm going with the Sooners. Sooner, baby.
Next, we got Florida State, fresh off a solid 33-30 win over Syracuse.
Solid.
We both got that one right.
Yes, we did.
That's one of the few we got right last week. But they're heading to North Carolina, who's finally getting their offense going now. And I look for the Tar Heels.
You know, the line on that is 18.5.
Florida State may cover that, but I don't think they'll win the game.
I'm going with the Noles.
You got to.
You know what 2 wins? 2 wins is a winning streak.
It is.
But I don't know if we're going to get it, but I'm sorry. I know the young man led Florida State to victory last week. Just something about Mackenzie Milton to me. Anyway, what do I know? They won the game. They won because of the quarterback's mobility. But I don't know. I just think Florida State plays better when Milton's in the game. But
So Joe and I going with North Carolina. Bob going with his Florida State Seminoles.
of course.
Wake Forest, Wake Me Up Forest anymore. Undefeated on the season, the top team in the ACC right now. And they're heading to Syracuse, upstate New York. I look for Wake Forest, the Demon Deacons, to keep their winless and their undefeated season going.
I'm going to go with Wake Forest. Now, Syracuse quarterback really impressed me. He just made some tremendous decisions and literally tried to almost willed Syracuse to the victory.
And there's one house I do not want to be in this weekend, and that would be up on the Ponderosa.
Yeah.
The Auburn girl hosting the Georgia Dogs team. And I'm going to go with Georgia in this one. Auburn with the big win last week on the road at LSU, a team that's in a little bit of despair right now in the Baton Rouge. And who knows how many more games Coach O. Hey, Coach, we have not heard from Coach O tonight. Have you seen him?
Well, yeah. Bill, it's good to hear from you. This is Coach O. You know, I said go Tigers. I didn't know that I was rooting for the wrong team there.
Yeah, you were.
I had too many Red Bulls, and we gave up too many points. And that's how you lose a game when, the other team scores more points than you. Do you know that, Bill?
I did.
I got a master's degree, and I could figure that out. But anyway.
How many Red Bulls you up to a day, Coach?
I'm up to 6 Red Bulls a day. And all I want to know is I want to hang out with that Jacksonville Jaguars coach. That's all I want to say. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers. I'm going to go with Georgia in this one, brother big.
Oh, Georgia's. When they face Alabama, that's going to be I'm totally sold on Georgia. They did a number on Arkansas. I'm going with Georgia.
So there we go. We move back to a game that has some meaning to some, as Wisconsin goes to Illinois and face off with against their old coach Brett Bielema.
That's right.
So Wisconsin's really struggling at the quarterback position, as is Notre Dame.
Right.
But Wisconsin, Graham Mertz has just not found, and he got hurt in that game last week, so they had to go to their backup Chase Wolf. And the junior quarterback, so I'm not sure who's going to get the call this week as they go to Illinois. And Wisconsin off to a 1-3 start, and it's been since like 1990. It was the year that I met Miss Brenda Kay. It was in 1989, 1990. The year we got married, and that's the last time that Wisconsin started out 1-3. Will it be 1-4? Could be, but I think Wisconsin will find a way to pull this one out.
Wisconsin will win. They play in Champaign, or do they play
Champaign-Urbana.
Champaign-Urbana.
Next, we're going to head out west. A very strong BYU team hosting the team with the blue field.
Yep.
We don't talk about much.
Smurfs.
I'm going to go with the BYU in this one.
Any other year, I would say it would be an awesome game to watch, but Boise is not Boise. I'm going with BYU in the win.
Okay, and then we're going to move over to Iowa, and they're hosting Penn State. This is going to be a classic matchup.
I'm sorry.
Between the number 3 and the number 4 teams in the country.
And game day's not there. I'm sorry.
Game day's not there.
Just everything.
The reason was that they've already covered them once when they did the Iowa State game. So.
Oh, boo-hoo. We go
to Iowa again.
Iowa twice. You got the number 3 and the number 4 team in the country. Come on. Game day, boo.
I am going with Penn State in the upset.
Yeah, and the question is it an upset?
That's true. Both teams playing solid right now on the defensive side of the ball. Iowa scoring a little bit more than Penn State, but I think Sean Clifton is really starting to come into his own at Penn State at quarterback. And I think Penn State is going to win a wild one here, like 35-34 or 38-35 in this one.
That high, huh? I'm going to go with Iowa.
You side with Joe. Joe took BYU as well.
Yep.
Next we got Shmoo heading to Navy.
Shmoo?
Shmoo.
Shmoo who?
Southern Methodist University.
Oh, there you go.
They're heading to Navy.
It's on the winning. They won last week.
I'm going to go with the Mustangs, the last team that had the death penalty, then revived from death. They come back, and those were some teams that they had back then, with Dickerson and Craig James, and guys, they had some great teams back then, SMU. But they're heading to face off the midshipmen this week, and I think we're all going to go with Shmoo. That's Shmoo.
Shmoo.
And another team, surprisingly, the Beavers are playing well this year.
4-1.
4-1. Oregon State heading to Washington State. Like you said earlier, it takes 2 games to have a streak. So that's why the Cougars won't have a streak this week, as Oregon State will go in for the victory.
You know, Oregon State was one of the worst football teams in the country at one time, very recently, last 3 or 4 years. I'm going to go with the Beavers.
Going to go in a sweep there. Another game coming up here, LSU at Kentucky. Not impressed with the Kentucky offense. Very impressed with the Kentucky defense. And LSU, who are they?
Well, I'll tell you who we are, Bill. I'm glad you Bill, it's good to see you again, by the way.
You as well, Coach.
You know, this thing's full of Red Bull, not full of Pepsi-Cola. Just, I need some couscous for my tus. I think we're gonna get our butts beat this week by the Wildcats. Go Tigers.
So you're actually go Wildcats. Or are you still saying go Tigers?
No, I say go Tigers because they write my check.
Okay. That's pretty smart, Coach. We're all going with Kentucky in this one.
I don't know how many more checks I'm gonna get.
That's true. Then we got Michigan heading Nebraska. Michigan starting to pick up some steam on the offensive side of the ball. I don't think Nebraska, even though they're playing better, has enough.
Boy, they scored 50 last week. I'm
going to go with Michigan in this one.
I don't see Michigan losing.
Next, we're going to head over to Texas A&M and Alabama, going into Texas A&M, and I think the spread is like 18.
18 and a half, yeah.
And so Alabama's going to win easy in this one.
I heard in the rumorville that Jimbo is maybe regretting leaving Tallahassee.
He's a few years too late with that decision.
Well, how much did he get? 36.
$75 million over 10 years.
Million? Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Oh!
I got him. We have it on the air. You said.
Oh my gosh!
Roll title. He said roll title.
I didn't finish it. I did not finish it.
Roll title.
Wow, you almost got me there, Bob. You snuck one in on me on that one. Tim, you've been proud of your guy over here. You almost got me to say it. We're moving on from that game before I have a chance to say it again. UCLA, terrible game last week against Arizona State. Going to Arizona, face the Wildcats.
Did you pick UCLA last week?
I picked UCLA last week.
Upper Crestview, Lower Alabama.
You took Arizona State.
Yeah. I don't think there's any way in the world UCLA loses 2 weeks in a row, especially Wildcats not what there once were.
Joe says, you got him. He did, Joe. My friend Tim Keene has been trying to get me to say that for years, and I don't know why I said it tonight. It just kind of just rolled out there.
All I heard was
roll
title. Roll your title out there.
Now we're going to finish up with Dante Wright, hopefully back on the field this week.
He's been hurt.
He's been hurt. He got hurt in the Vanderbilt game.
Sure did.
He's recovering, so prayers go out to him, and hopefully he'll be back for that game as they're starting their conference play this week against San Jose State. Unfortunately, I'm going to take the road team in this one.
Do you know the way to San Jose? Dun, 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 dun. What's San Jose?
That's kind of a catchy song.
It is. Petula? Was it Petula Clark? No, it wasn't Petula Clark. Do you know? I don't know who it is. What are we singing on sports radio? Sports TV. Colorado State, their season's been tough. And then last year with we are going to play, we're not going to play, we are going to play. I'm going to go, sorry, Mama Wright, I'm going to go with
With San Jose.
The St. Josie's.
So hopefully these picks, when we talk about them next week, will be a lot better than last week's picks because Bob went 12-11. I went 10-13. That's not very good for either one of us.
No, it was tough. I think you picked Wisconsin. I think you picked Notre Dame.
Now, if those were against the spreads, not so bad.
Correct.
Well, for you, mine are still bad, but. So we're going to move on from those our games. So you got to tune in next week to find out how all of us did, including our guest picker Joe Settles, is on the chain gang over at Niceville.
Oh man,
he's going to see a great game this week on the sideline, watching those two teams. A lot of quickness in that game coming up Friday night between Niceville and Edison.
The only other place, the number one place I want to be Saturday night is with this guy. All right, that's 1A. 1B would be holding the down marker next to you. What a great football game. There's going to be more 4 stars, 5 stars, 3 stars, who knows what star. Speed, scoring. The referees are oiling their shoes as we speak.
They better get their best in shape referees for this game.
But, hey, hats off to Edison. That's a long way to travel.
I went down there a couple of years ago when Brady went down for his All-Star game down there.
That's right, yeah.
And that is a long haul. We went to Fort Lauderdale, and I believe we made it back in like 9.5, 10 hours. But we took the turnpike back, so it was actually quicker coming back than it was. Because that going down 75 and then going across Alligator Alley, that is not a very fun drive.
No.
And so we decided, well, we're going to pay a little extra and go through the tolls. We'll pay the tolls. And it was worth it.
That's good.
But now we're going to move over to former Navarre Raiders. We're going to skip right through our break here because it's my show. I do what I want to do.
Do whatever you want to do.
That's right. And congratulations goes out to alum Michael Carter on his first NFL touchdown. You all seen it. It's out on my sports page. His dance at the end is priceless.
Yeah.
And the lineman, you can just tell how small Michael is, but dynamite comes in small packages with that young man. But when his lineman picks him up over his head, I was like, just don't drop him. But Michael Carter, congratulations on your first NFL touchdown and your first NFL victory for Robert Saleh and the Jets organization.
Well, that's a great coach right there now.
And Nick Brahms, a big win for them on the road at LSU, where they hadn't won since '99. You can go on my IrishBillSports.com and it has former Navarre Raiders. Where are they now? And it will list everyone that's currently playing college football right now. So there's a list. I mean, names. There's so many, 20 to 25 players right now. We got 7 at Huntington, also known as Navarre North, up there in Montgomery.
Have a whole offense or defense.
Yeah, a few more. But, I mean, guys, some of the players, Bailey Houston got into a game last week. He's playing JV. They do have JV at Huntington.
Okay.
So he got to play a few snaps on Saturday, then played the JV game on Sunday.
Oh.
And the Valdosta State off to another great season with Elijah Melendez over there as well. But all of our players that are hurt, we wish you Godspeed on getting healthy. And once again, the list of the names is out on my IrishBillSports.com. Navarre, where are they now? And love talking about our former Navarre players.
Yep. Another Navarre player we mentioned last week, Brianna Edwards.
She's impressive.
Yeah, she's one of the top 5 recruits from the University of Florida this year.
May see her in the Olympics in the near future.
Could. They had a number of Gators who did make it to the Olympic trials. Their season is January to March. And as you know, the SEC has a good number of teams. Florida, Alabama, South
solid.
Carolina,
Georgia.
Kentucky, Georgia. And their season is January to March. So we hope they're getting ready as we speak. Their coach is in her third year. And as I mentioned, a number of them went to the Olympic trials. And so we wish Bree the best. And they'll be, just by the time we're done with football season, she'll be getting on the competition stage. And when the lights are shining, that's when it all counts.
That's right. Speaking of shining, on Saturdays in the South, the Division II conference, one of the best Division II conferences in the country, is the Gulf South Conference, and they still have three teams that are unbeaten. And what a comeback last week for West Florida. Down 20 points on the road to Delta State, and they come back and pull out the victory over Delta State 39-33 last week. Mississippi College takes out North Greenville 42-21. West Alabama over West Georgia 38-20. And Valdosta State Shorter University 49-13.
Shorter's got 2 victories, though.
2 victories on the season for Shorter. The first time in, I believe, 6 years that they've had multiple victories in a season. On the season, West Alabama 4-0, Valdosta 4-0, West Florida 4-0 as well. They're all undefeated in conference play. West Georgia 4-1, Mississippi College 2-2, North Greenville 3-2, Delta State and Shorter University 2-3.
Where's Shorter again?
It is in Rome, Georgia.
Rome, Georgia.
About 70 miles west of Atlanta.
I know where Rome is. Sure is.
Yep.
They get to host West Alabama.
And about an hour south of Chattanooga.
Okay.
So we got all conference games this week. West Alabama travels to Shorter University. West Georgia to Mississippi College, West Florida North Greenville, and Delta State will travel to Valdosta State. Should be a great matchup and another great week in Gulf South Conference action this weekend.
I would love to be a fly in the wall or bug his telephone. How come that coach of West Florida, what dedication, he's still there, very loyal to West Florida. You would think with all the success he's had, and I think we've talked to this in the past, how come another larger college hasn't tried to entice him? Or maybe they have.
Well, one thing with Coach Shinnick is he has built a reputation of being a school starter. He started Pembroke over in North Carolina,
right.
Got them into the playoffs, came over and took on the challenge of building up the West Florida program. Guys, in a short time, 4 years, been to the national title game twice, runner-up in 2017. And won in 2019. They're defending 2 national champions and have another strong team again this year.
You think about that lower classification of college football. The teams like
Joe goes, the non-Alabama streak begins again 6 October 2021. Joe. You almost got me to say it again. Gosh, you guys are too much.
The smaller college, think of what West Florida did to win that championship. They were the road warriors. And
the first game was one of the toughest when they had to go to Valdosta State and scored on 4th down to win that game.
And Alabama and Notre Dame and Florida State and Florida and all the teams that have won national championships. Notice I didn't mention Georgia. Sorry.
That's since 1980.
Yeah, that's right. Herschel. They're in a 2-game playoff. Think of what West Florida did and what those teams do year in and year out in that traveling gosh knows how they make ends meet budget-wise. What impressive victory West Florida had with all those road wins.
You go on the road to beat Valdosta State. You go on the road the next week to North Carolina, to Hickory, where Miles College we made that trip over to Lenore Ryan in Hickory, North Carolina. Very tough, Lenore Ryan with a great program over there. Then they travel up to Michigan and take on a very tough, I believe, Ferris State in the snow and win that game. And then they go on the road again, and then they make it to the championship game down in Texas. I believe it's down in Frisco, Texas, or in that area.
Yeah.
And they pull off a great game against a great Minnesota State team.
That's a lot of bus. I don't know if they fly or not. Maybe they flew for the championship game, but that's a lot of road riding on a bus.
Well, it helps when you got your quarterback coming back. This year, still only I believe he's a sophomore, redshirt sophomore, so he still has a couple more years. We saw that young man play at St. Augustine, and he's still there and still setting all kind of records and great program there at West Florida. Coach Pete Shinnick.
And they got their own field now too.
They got their own field. They're only playing one game there at the university this year. And eventually they'll get over to the campus, but there's still a lot of work to be done over there to get them ready to play on campus. Just not much parking right now, and the stands aren't in there as well, the permanent stands. So we talked about the Gulf South Conference. Let's move over to the SIAC, the Southern Interscholastic Athletic Conference. HBCU schools, and it consists of 11 current teams that are in the East and the West, and 2 that will be joining, but not involved in the standings this year. Our scores last week: Albany State takes out Miles. Miles got up 3-0. Albany State ran off 31 straight points for a 31-3 win. We watched that game on ESPN3. Savannah State takes out Kentucky State 21-17. Allen over Central State's 46-34. Tuskegee over Clark Atlanta. A long season for Clark Atlanta this year. Edward Waters over Morehouse. Fort Valley State over Benedict. And Lane College went on the road and faced Texas College and whitewashed them 71-0.
What was the over and under on that?
I'm not sure. But our schedule coming up this week: Benedict at Miles. The game will be out on Saturday. Homecoming at Miles College. Okay. Edward Waters at Albany State. Allen at Clark Atlanta. Central State at Fort Valley State. Lane at Kentucky State. Erskine College at Savannah State. And Tuskegee at Morehouse. And later, Savannah State and Albany State 4-1, both unbeaten in conference. Lane leading the western side at 4-1 as well, unbeaten in conference play. So there's our SIAC, our Gulf South Conference, our picks, our preview of this week's game between Navarre and Mosley. Should be an interesting game. You can catch it all on IrishBillSports.com and YouTube at Irish Bill Sports Live. And Bob and I will be there, and Robbie will be joining us back on the camera as we head back to Bennett C. Russell Stadium, the friendly confines.
Up on the roof. Hey.
You're a better singer than I, so I'll let you sing if you want to.
You can't hear me. My insider says Coach at Tate, Coach Lindsey, he resigned and decided he did not want to keep coaching. Now, we've heard that from the Jaguars. We've heard that from a lot of coaches around the country. They spend more time with their family. He did not answer my question about whether he's still teaching. My guess is probably yes, because salary and health insurance and things like that. But we wish Coach Lindsey the best. I'm sure we'll see him around.
The last name, very prominent in these parts of the state.
Could be back at Pace, filling his dad's old shoes. Who knows?
Kent Smith doing he's done a pretty solid job there at Pace in relief of the legend, Mickey Lindsey. He is a legend. Gracing our sidelines here for quite a while here in the Panhandle in Santa Rosa County. And now we're come up to our final segment. And usually Bob at this time has a rant, sometimes good, some off the cuff, but mostly entertaining.
Mostly entertaining. Okay. I'm going to go back to a couple of weeks ago. We talked about the new with the school board purchasing land for the new high school. It's a done deal. Very costly. Maybe we need to think about growth. I don't see Navarre getting any smaller, Bill. Your kids and my kids both went to Navarre High School, are going to Navarre High School. Some 2,000 students roaming the halls. Something had to give. And so whether you were for it or against it, it's a done deal. Let's support the school board and encourage them not to make the same mistake as previous boards and county commissioners and whoever that made a decision. And let's stay positive about it. Am I concerned about the traffic on Highway 98?
Of course.
Of course. We all do. And will we have 6 schools now within a short distance of Highway 98, and maybe 7 if you include Florosa? Yes. So I hope for the the deal is done. That's all we can say. So let's get on board. And
the one thing I like, Bob, with it sounds like with the new structure, they're going to be 3 stories.
Yes.
And one thing that we've kind of done in the past is we've kind of landlocked ourselves with the schools and the development of the schools. You're not able to build up.
Right.
So with this one, I like the direction that they're going with the multiple floors of the high school.
Don't have much choice, as you said. It's about 35 to 40 acres for a high school. You want it a little bigger than that, maybe 50, 55. But we don't have that luxury, so. You know,
Has there been any mention of what possible names for the school might be? To me, I think the obvious one, even though they may not go there, is Midway High School. But that's
Midway
just.
High School, yeah. You know, we've named schools. The stadium in Navarre is named after Benny Russell. And there's an elementary school named after Benny Russell, former superintendent of schools. Tim Rostick took the helm and led the schools for a good while, and now Dr. Karen Barber is, so perhaps it would be be named after one of the former school board members or superintendent. I like Pullum High School myself. What the Pullum family has done for this community, a senior center, a YMCA, given, started NYSA really, and so that's my vote. Bart had that choice. We talked about where kids could go in the early times. Bart went to Fort Walton Beach High School, Bart and Pullum, but my one vote. And I'm going to let Dr. Barber know, would be Pullum High School. Bill Pullum, such a giving man, a hero of the Vietnam War, Medal of Honor, so many medals of heroism in Vietnam.
And Joe's already coming up with a nickname for Midway, the Maulers.
The Maulers.
I think in this day and age, Joe, that's probably not going to fly.
Midway Maulers. Huh. Survey says
no.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows?
Who knows?
I mean, we have the poets from the high school outside of Birmingham. Oh.
We have the syrup makers.
The syrup makers.
Cairo, however you pronounce it. Out of Cairo, Georgia.
The Moonshiners? No, that won't fit.
No.
That won't go. But anyway, so what I like about it, we'll let the kids make that decision.
Yeah.
And those people that have the greatest impact. We just opened a school this year, K-8 school, East Bay School. I was reffing on the pitch this weekend in Niceville. I met some kids, some 11, 12-year-old girls who went to that school. They said they love it there. So who knows what the name will be. But it won't be Raiders.
No. Raiders is taken.
And we look forward to all of you. Please join us, Homecoming 2021 at Benny Russell Stadium. If you can't make it, join this handsome guy and I.
That'd be Seminole Bob, Irish Bill.
Homecoming 2021 will.
And hopefully the weather will cooperate.
Yeah.
The forecast is looking good.
I don't mind getting up there early and helping with the camera for the homecoming festivities. So those of you who could not make it out, join us on irishbillsports.com.
Most definitely. Well, until Friday night, we hope that you've enjoyed another week of Irish Bill's Twist on Sports, week number 7 and year number 8. Wow.
The Lord has blessed us.
My 5th year here at Culver's in Navarre, 3 years at the Twist in downtown Navarre as well. And great times on Wednesday nights. I love talking high school football and high school sports. And it's been blessed to have Bob joined me these last few years once we moved over here to Culver's. And
yep, I'll try not to wear something so bold next week. I wore a very nice yellow print shirt. It got some lunch on it, so
some lunch.
So
I know how that is.
Yes, so now if I spill something on this, no one will know.
Well, thanks again for joining Irish Bill's Twist on Sports from Culver's in downtown Navarre. We want to thank Honey and Randy Smith for allowing us to come in every Wednesday night during high school football season, and we have just kind of become a fixture here in the front room here at Culver's every Wednesday night. And so come out and join us. The offer still stands. If you're the first one to join one of our shows, I will buy you dinner. Offer's still up, and still nobody has taken me up on it.
Man, I had the chicken strips tonight, Bill.
But you don't count. I'm not going to buy your dinner.
Oh, so good.
But
so good.
Well, thanks again, folks. And until Friday night, may the wind ever be at your back. This is Irish Bill signing off.
Good night, Navarre, and God bless.